Look, today we'll see some interesting things in pivot tables. That is, which is no not much explored, or say which is more useful for us to use this pivot table in a better manner. Let me just create a pivot table. We know that pivot table is very simple. Just go to insert and I'll create a pivot table. Let me just click on this pivot table and then I'll use this table or range. So in this case, I'm taking this range. If you think that it has to be dynamic, then I can use this table here. Say new worksheet. I'll say OK. When I say OK, I'll get this fields and here I'll get this placeholders. I can just drag and drop. So first thing is here the fields, whatever you see, all the fields here, these fields will be exactly like what we have in our source, like this. What if I want to sort this ascending order or descending order? So what will happen here? Sometimes we'll not be able to trace out the columns. So it'll be very difficult. So what we can do is we can go here, we can say customer name. You can just put it here like this, customer name, and I can select like this. This is by searching. So let me just click on this. So I'll get this column. This is one way. Or suppose if you want to sort this so that it will be easy for me to scroll and take the columns, then I can go to the settings here, click on this. Here I have this sort. You can see this A to Z or sort in data source order. Usually what will happen is when I use this, when I create a pivot table, so this will be by default according to the source what we have. So let's go here, select this and I'll say A to Z. See, now if you go here, it is sorted accordingly. So it will be easy for me to trace that column. This is sorting the columns. Suppose if you don't want, again I want similar to the data source order, click on this, again it will get back. Sometimes what will happen is I have this window. This window, I'm actually trying to take some columns, dragging here and putting it here. So instead I want this window, whatever is there, this one, next to this, so that it will be easy for me to drag and drop here or something. You can just move this, just drag like this. This will be dockable like this. Dockable means I can move it like this, like this. Now what if I want to get it back like this? See, I cannot place it again here. So you don't have to bother. Just double click on this. Again, it will go back and it will sit. Or you can go here. Say if you want to move, just click on this. You can move it like this. You can resize this like this. So this is very useful when you think that you want to have the window something very close to your pivot table and start working on this instead of having somewhere in the right corner. Again, if you want to get it back, just double click on this, it will go back. Say if you want to resize, that is size, say you can size it like this as well. Right. Now, when you're actually designing this pivot table, so people who are working more on pivot table, what will happen is this box will be very small like this. So I'll be keep dragging here. So it is very difficult, what will happen, I have to keep on scrolling like this. So what we can also do is we can restructure this. That is the design of this. So how? Let's go to this settings. Here I have this, see, so many different options. Let's say I'll click on this fields and the area section will be side by side. Just click on this. See, this will become more easy for us to work on. See, so these things, when people who are completely working on this pivot tables itself, a lot of reports they're taking, so this will be very easy. Now I can go here, just drag and drop here. Say I want to drag this segment. So same things, only the design of this the window, whatever is there, the pivot table field window will be changed. That's all. See, I'll take this region and category in the columns and sales here like this. So this will be more easier for me to drag and drop. That is, I can have more enough space for dragging and dropping of the fields in the exact filters whatever we have here. Say we have only field section where I can see only the field section here. I can still use this to drag and drop here. Or if you want only this section, see, only this section will be there, and then I'll say areas only like this. So you can plan accordingly with design of the pivot table fields. By default it will be this manner. So if you think that the better way is, suppose if you think that there are more columns and you are working more of pivot tables, just select this. This mode will be the appropriate where it will be easy for me to drag and drop with multiple columns, seen together like this. Right. Now we saw this, how to design the layouts, and we also saw how to, check this. Now suppose sometimes what will happen by mistake, so we would have closed like this. You don't have to, worry about it. Say we'll go here, we'll go to this analyze. Here I have this field list. Just click on this field list, I'll get this. Or I'll go here, right click and say show field list. I'll get the list here. So these are all the preparations which we should do, while working on the say pivot tables. Now you can see I have something called as buttons and field headers. Let's see what is this. Now let me say field list. I will select one more column here. Let's say I'll take this region, I'll put it here. Then we'll take the category and we'll put it here. Okay, let's take this columns here, take this segment and we'll put this region here. We can see this. I can see one plus button, that is expand and collapse like this. Now I can see that plus button here. So if I zoom this, I can see this plus button. If you think that I don't want this plus button, or if you are working on a pivot table where I'm not able to see this expand button or collapse button, see, that is because of this one. But still I can do it. Say right click and here I have this expand or collapse. Say expand, I can still expand, but those buttons will not be visible. If at all you think that those buttons are not visible, so you don't have to worry about it. Just go to this analyze and here I have this buttons. Just click on this. Again I'll get back those buttons. Right. About the field headers, this one, what do you see the headers? Just remove this. See the headers, whatever is there here, that will go. Say let's go here. Let me just remove this segment, this category, so the headers will not be there. And let's click on this field headers. Again I'll get the headers. So whatever you have, say if you are not finding this say buttons, that is plus buttons, that is expand and collapse buttons, or you don't have the headers, just go and check in this analyze. You'll get these options. These are all some preparations which you can do before starting the pivot tables. The next step. Now suppose if I have one table here, let's say we'll create one table here. Say we'll select this region, then we'll take say category and I'll put it in columns like this, and we've taken the sum of sales. Now I've got some results here. Now when I say I've got these results, I want to know how this say 1,60,000 has come, or the results, how it has actually come. So if you want to get the entire result, say by this office supplies with this central, the entire data which has been aggregated here, just double click on this. If you just double click on this, see, I'll get a result like this. So if you go and check this, the filtered data, it says office supplies and it is central. I'll go and select this. Say we'll go, is that office supplies? See here, we can see the category with office supplies, and then what is the other filter? Say central. Let's go and check the region. See, it is central. Now if you go and check the data here, say sales, if you add up completely, I'll get 1,67,026.415 or something. If you go and check this here, see, I'll get the same result here. So these results will come for any selections you do. Let's say I'll go here and say I'll add one page filter here, that is we'll take it by segment and I'll put it here. Say I have a segment here. Now let me select this. I'll say consumer, say okay. Now I got some results here. Now I'm thinking that how did this 86,229.219 has come. I want to know the breakup of this, the detailed report of this. So what I'll do, I'll just double click on this. Just double click on this. Now all the filters, whatever has been applied here, say consumer, the furniture and the central, that will be available here. You can say the segment will be consumer. Then next, the region will be central. and the category is furniture. Now the total whatever we are getting here, it should be exactly like what we filter here, say 86,229.219. So if you go and check here, see, it is like this. So whenever you think that I'm getting some result, and if you want to go and check the breakup of it, you can just double click on this. What it will do is it'll just give me the complete records here with that filtered data. So you can use this as a table or another pivot table also. So here if you go, see, I can go and insert one more pivot table on this, because this itself is a separate table now. Right. Now let's go here. So every time I'm just trying to double click on this, say somewhere by mistake, say I'm doing something here, I'll just double click on this. Automatically I'll get the results. I don't want this to happen. So for this, what I'll do, I'll go here in this show field list. We have something called as defer layout update. Just select this. Just enable this. Now let's go and try double clicking on this. See, it will not allow. See, or also what I can do is, let me right click and say pivot table options. Here we'll have that data. See, enable show details. Say right click anywhere in this, anywhere. Just say right click. I'll get this pivot table options. That means I'm trying to avoid the double click. Either I can use this defer layout update, or I can go to this data, say right click pivot table options and say data. Here I have this enable show details. So what this enable show details will do is it will not allow me to double click on this. Say when I double click, it will not show the details. That's it. Let's double click on this. We cannot change this part of the pivot table. So what will happen when I'm actually doing some analysis, by mistake I would have double clicked on this, so it will take me to a detailed report. So if you want to avoid that, then I can go here, say options, go to this data, and I can disable this. So if you want to enable this, just go here and enable it. Right. So this will actually help me in avoiding or enabling the double click option, that is showing the details of it. Suppose if you want to break up report, then I can use this option. Right. So now if I double click, it will work. Next, suppose I want this pivot table to be refreshing when I open the file. So for that, what I'll do, right click, say pivot table option. Here I have this an option, refresh data when opening the file. If I enable this, what will happen? Every time when I open the file, so what will happen if I'm actually using the data from some other source, or let it be within the source also, it will try to refresh the data. So what will happen when I actually create a pivot table? This pivot table, this data, when I create a pivot table here, this will be in a cache memory. Now suppose if I change anything here, if you want to update here, I have to right click and then say refresh, then only this will work. Otherwise this will not work. So whatever is there in the cache memory, it will work only with that data, unless and until I hit the refresh button. Now if I'm not refreshing, what will happen? It will have only the old data. Now right click, I'll say pivot table options, go to this data. If I click on this refresh and say okay, every time when I actually open the file, automatically this will get refreshed. So this will actually help me very much in refreshing the data. Fine. This is one thing, because it is very important, because when I'm actually updating the data, let's say this is actually coming from an external source. So if the data is actually updating that external source and I want to get the right result in my pivot table, then this will really help me a lot, because it will refresh as soon as I open the file. Fine. One more interesting thing is, now let's say I've created one pivot table here. Now I want the data something like this. Say I have 3 different segments. So I want to get the report, say for example, for consumer, I'm getting this report for all the regions with all the other categories. Now if you want the next one, I'll say corporate, and I'll go here. This is for the corporate. So what if I'll get some options where I'll get all the say segments, pivot table in a different sheet. That means I want to get the separate sheet itself, wherein I'll get the breakup of all this, or say a separate report itself for different segments. Then what I'll do is I'll go to this analyze. Here I have something called as pivot table options, that is options. Let's click here. It says show report filter page. So what this actually will do, it will help me in creating the reports of all these filters, say these filters in different pages. All right, let's go and say option and say show report filter page. Let me just click on this and see. I'll just delete all these sheets so that okay, so that we'll have only the reports what we're trying to get it now. Go to this analyze and say options. Let's click on this show report filter page. Click on this. It will ask on which field I actually have to create the reports. I'll say segment. Just say okay. You can see this. See, I have a pivot table with consumer, office, home office. Two we have got. So here like this. See, that means you are getting the reports out of it like this. Now let me add one more field here. Right click, say show field. I'll add, let's say ship mode. Okay. Now I have this corporate, then we have this ship mode. Now I want to get for this consumer. Okay. For this consumer, I want the report for all these ship modes, the 4 ship mode, whatever is there, but it should be based on consumer. So what I'll do, I'll go here again, I'll say options. Here I'll say show report filter. When I click on this, now I'll get different options here. I can select only one field at a time. Let me select the ship mode because I'm trying to create the reports based on ship mode. Let me say okay. See, I'll get the filtered data here for consumer first class, then same day, then second class, then standard class like this. A separate pivot tables will be created like this. So you can have any number of fields here, but whatever filters you are giving here in the page filter, that will be creating a separate pivot table in separate sheet itself. Right. So this is one more option which you can quickly create the reports for multiple selections. Right. Next one. Say I'm creating one pivot table. Let's say I'll create one separate pivot table. Insert pivot table. Now let's take this subcategory and I'll put it in rows. And then let's take this sales and put it in values. So you can see that I got one pivot table here with different categories. Now let me take this category and if I put it here, so if you see here, I have this furniture, office supplies and technology as a separate categories. So within that I have this subcategory. Now I want a separate line here, say a blank line here. Let's say I'll go here, I'll copy this and I'll paste it in separate sheet as values. Now you can see this, everything is coming in the same column and it is very difficult to differentiate. Say here I have this technology, office supplies or furniture, but here everything is coming in the same column. So I don't know how to differentiate. Say this is the category and these are the subcategories like this. Let me select this till here. It is subcategory like this. So instead, what if I can add a separate line here, say one blank line here after this subcategories. So for that, what I'll do, I'll go to this design. There is something called as blank rows. So what we'll do to differentiate this, I'll go to this blank rows and say insert line after each item. Let me click on this. See, I'll get a blank line here after each item. So this will not get when you have only one, say, field. Let me remove the subcategory. See, I'll not get that. But suppose if I add one more field there, let's say I'll add this subcategory or any other field. See, I'll get this like this. So this will be useful to differentiate between the different categories. Let's go here. Let me paste this as values. So you can see there's a separate tree. And you can see this total should be matching with this total here like this. So this will be my heading. Let me make it bold. This one also bold like this. So this will be my heading. So if you want to create any report like this to separate between different categories like this to add one blank row, then you can use this. Right. Now let me just remove this category. Now we know that there are the columns which are there here, which are getting grouped based on the categories which is there. Now what if I want to categorize this in a say customized manner? Let me just go here, right click, and I'll say sort A to Z. So okay, see here, I just sorted this column. I'll still say sort ascending by. Okay, let's say it is sorting something like this. Now I will select this and I'll make one group like this. Right click and say group. So this is group one. Now let me take out this category. I'll select this and I'll create one more group. Right. Now I have this one group here, another group here like this. This is for the text. Let me remove this line. See, it's a custom say grouping what we have done. Now what if I'll just take only this. See, I have this subcategory 2. I'll just take only this subcategory. See, I have this group 1 and group 2, and rest all will be another group like this. So automatically it will become a group. Now in this group 1, there are chances that in this category, whatever is there, there are few categories, say this group 1, and you can see that group 2 in furnitures, and group 1 in office supplies, and group 2 here, and group 1 in technology. That means the grouping whatever I have done can be mixture of all these categories. So like this also we can group it, that is customizing the group. But if you take this category and if you put this subcategory, this will be again grouped according to the column what we have. This is for the text. Now what if I want to group the number itself? Say we want to categorize the numbers. Say I have the sales data. The sales data should be categorized, say from 0 to 1000. So what is the sales? The total sales of from range 0 to 1000. Then say 1001 to 2000. So like this, if you want to actually categorize the numbers itself, so what I'll do, I'll take this sales and I'll put it in rows. Don't put it in values. The number column, put it in rows. You can see that I'm getting something like this. The entire records, whatever is there, I just drag and put it in sales. Now right click and say group. Now when I put a text, let's observe this. I'll put this category and say right click. If you want to group, you have to select this and say group. Okay, so a group will be created. But for number, let me go here. I'll take the sales and I'll put it in rows. Now let me just right click and say group. See here, I'll get a grouping window here. So what this grouping window will do, it says starting at, ending at. This is the starting and the ending. By how many, how much of the buckets I have to create. Say in this case, I'm mentioning it as 1000. So what will happen from 0.44 to next 1000, whatever is there. So instead of this, I'll say 0, so that we'll get the actual value from 0 to 1000. And again, 1000 intervals will get. Suppose if you want to make it 5000, you can go here, I can make it 5000 as well. Let's make it as 1000. I'm trying to group it 1000 up to the maximum value. All right, let me say okay. If I say okay, see, this will be converted into like thousands. Say 0 to 1000, 1000 to 2000, 2000 to 3000. Now here, if you want to know the total sales, just go here and put it here. See, the total sales from 0 to 1000, it is this much. Let's say it is saying count. Let me change this to sum. Say okay. See, this is total sales. Or if you want to take the count, say how many rows are there from 0 to 1000, then you can just make it as count. This will give me the count. So there are 9526 records from 0 to 1000. Now if you're creating that histogram charts or something, then you can use something like this. I'll just paste it somewhere here. That is, histogram charts are nothing but you're just trying to bucket it from 0 to 1000 or something. Now if you select this, and you can create a chart out of it, or you can create a pivot table chart as well. So what this will do, it will create a chart for this data like this. So we have more number of records from 0 to 1000. If you want, you can break it to 500, or say, whichever say range you want. This is for grouping with the say text as well. So this will be very useful when you are actually trying to um, group the numbers. So for any number column you can do it. Similarly, you can do it for date as well, but date will be like a hierarchy automatically, that will be grouped. So for example, if you go here, and let me just remove this sales from here. If you take a date column, and if you put it say in rows, automatically it will group, say like this. Right click and say group, so you can see that it will group based on the selections here. Let's say I want only year, remove this, say I'll get only year. Right click, you can see group, I want only month, remove this, I'll get only month. So this is about the grouping. So you can group by text, by number, or by month as well, or the date format as well. Right. Next one, just remove this. Sometimes what will happen is I'll have a blank values. Let's assume I'll take say subcategory, and then let's say we'll take the category itself here, and then we'll take this sales value. So you can see there are some blank values here like this. So I want to put zeros here. Let's say right click, pivot table options. It says for empty cells show, here it is saying blank. Let's try and put 0 in this and say okay. See, you can see that 0 here like this. Right click, pivot table option, I'll say hyphen, say okay. It's a number format, so hyphen is also considered as. So you can change the format here, like we saw that number formatting, you can change the number formatting as well here like this hyphen. But if you want to fill the empty cells, just go and put this. So wherever you have this empty cells, you'll get this cells. But if you want to make it like hyphen or something, you can go say number format. So here you can change the formats here. Let's say custom. Here we can put that hash comma, like we have seen this in our number formatting. And for negative number, we'll say something like this. And for 0, we'll say hyphen. Let's say okay. See, this will get changed to hyphen like this. You can change the number format as well here. What if I have an error? Let's go here. Let's try and see if I have an error. So we'll get error there. Let's say I'll try to use this profit, say divided by this, a random calculation I'm doing. See, here I'm getting some results here. See, I'm getting some errors here. Let's make a separate column. I'll just make backup of it so that you can copy and paste. Let's go here. I'll say equals this value divided by this. Let me just paste it. So here we have some errors. Copy this. Right. Let's go here. I'll say refresh. And then instead of this count of sales, let's say sum of sales. And we'll see have any errors. Okay, this is for sales. Let's take profit and see. Remove this. And then we'll say value field. Let's take this sum and see. Okay, most of the cases it is error. Let's say I have an error like this. I want to show if there is any error. I want to show some value. Let's say I want to make it as 0. Go to this pivot table options, and here I have this show error value. I'll say 0. Say OK. See, wherever it is error, so it will show me as 0. So here I just made all the columns, like this calculation as division error. So here it is showing me all the errors. Suppose if you think that there are some calculated errors, it's there, you can just use this errors like this. So like this, either I can fill the 0 values, or there are any say error values, you can fill them. Right. Next one is, let me remove all this. So to remove this, see, there are so many columns which have actually used it, and I want to clear it at one shot. So if you want to clear, what I'll do, I'll go here, I'll just remove this column, something like this. So what I can do, go to this analyze. Here I have this clear. Select this, say clear all. So you just click on this, complete pivot table is cleared. So you can clear at one shot also by go to this analyze and say clear the option. So it will clear completely. Right. Now let me take this region, put it here, and I'll take this state. Now when I take this state, it is giving me as a count here, because state is not a value, it is just a text. So I'm getting this count. So what is this count? This count is nothing but the number of rows it is repeating. You go and check this. But what I actually need is, I want how many states are available in central. So what does that mean? Say in central, I want the unique count. I don't want this, the total number of rows it is repeating. So in this case, there are states which are repeating actually, but I want unique values here. You cannot do like this. So I'll go here, value field settings. We go here. See, I'll not get that options here. So I have only count. But what do I need? I want the distinct count. That means unique count. So in this case, I am not finding any values like this here. So what we'll do, we'll go to this. We'll try to create, let me just put this back. See, right. Let me create one more pivot table. Insert pivot table. But this time, what I'll do is, I'll use this, add this data to data model. So previously I created without this data model. Now I'm adding this, and I'll say okay. Just observe this. Now I'll do the same pivot table there, similar kind of pivot table what we did here with the region and the state selection. That is just creating. Okay, now this is created. Now let me take this region and I'll put it in rows. Same thing, I'll take this state and I'll put it in values. It is saying count. Now I can see this, I'm getting the count of state. What I'll do is, I'll go to this value field settings. This time I'll just scroll down and see, I'll get distinct count. This distinct count will come only when I add the pivot table, that is to a data model. That is, while creating a pivot table, you have to select this as a data model. Now let me say okay. See, I'll get the unique count for each state. It can be anything. Let's say I'll go here, I'll remove this region, and then I'll take this category, put it here, and then subcategory. I want to know the unique subcategories we have in each category. I'll say scroll down, distinct count. See, there are 17 subcategories in this. I have furniture, I have 4, say office supplies, I have this one, something like this. So this is how you can use this distinct count. But for this, make sure that you'll be selecting the add the data to the data model. Right. Let's go to this pivot table which we had created just now. Okay. Let's take the subcategories. Then let's take this sales. So let me just right click and say field settings. Here I have so many different options here. Here I have something called as show items with no data. So what does this mean? Sometimes what will happen is, let's assume I'll take the data here and I'll just make a backup of this. Always try to have a backup when you're modifying the original data. Let's take the category, and here I will select furniture in this, or we'll take this region. In this central, I have selected this category. So in central, the region central, I have a category furniture. So I'll delete this furniture from this center. The entire data I deleted, the furniture data from center. Now let's go here. I'll right click, or we'll take, okay, this one. Right click and say refresh. Okay. Now let me take this region and I'll put it here. Let's take this category and I'll put it here. Now let's go and select the region central. Say okay, you can see that I don't have the furniture here. Furniture is 0 because I don't have any data for furniture. Let me select this east. So I'm getting this furniture here because in east I have furniture. Let me select any of the other region. I'm getting all the values but except this central. So what will happen in this case is I want to know what all categories are there. All the categories. Let's say there are some categories in south. There are some 4 categories. Say in in west I have something more categories, but I want to list down all the categories which are available in the data, that is the source data. So in this case what I'll do is just right click, just that, like here, just right click on this field. Don't right click on this value field. Go to this field and say field settings. Here I'll go to this layout and print. Here I have this show items with no data. Click on this and say okay. Right. Now let's go and select this central. Say okay, see, I'll get this furniture with 0 data. So where this can be used, so what will happen is I have so many categories, but there are some categories which might not be there in one of the regions, but I want to list down all the categories. Now let's say I'll copy this and I'll paste it in this sheet somewhere. This is for the central. So I'm creating one report. So I want to know all the details of all the categories. So if I'm missing this, say if I don't have this, so it will be like only 2 categories will be available, wherein I want to know what happened to the other categories. So what all categories are there? So if you want to do something like that, then I can use the concept of this one. Say right click, field settings. I can use this. Say show items in show items with no data. So this you can do for any other columns as well. Right. So these are, some of the interesting things. And again, there is one more concept which is very much, useful. Let me just go here, delete all the other pivot table, keep one pivot table, we'll keep this one. Right. Now here, let's say refresh. I'll say equals and select any of this. Select this. I'll get this get pivot data. This get pivot data is actually a function which will get me the data from a pivot table. See, if I go here, I just selected this office supplies and I'm getting this, the results. If you see here, it says sales, which is in A4, that is this one. And then I'm selecting this region as central and category as office supplies. Let me change this to west. Say enter. See, you go and check this region west and office supplies like this. Now what we'll do, we can also get some reports like this. Say for example, let me just select this central and I'll put it here. And let me select this categories and I'll put it somewhere here like this. Like this. Let me create one list here by data validation and say list. Let me select this list. Right? Say okay. Now I have this list here, say central, east, whatever. Here we'll create one more list, data validation, list, and I'll select this. Say okay. So this is for the category. Let's say region, and I'll say category. Let's go to this formula. This will automatically get the data from my pivot table. I will remove this list. Remove this. That is the region. I will select this. Say enter. See. Now let me say central, west, south. Let me select this. I'll remove this office supplies and then I will select this column, this cell, enter. See, now this will become dynamic. Let me just reduce this to bring it a little closer to see if I'm getting the right result. Let's highlight this, make it bold. Okay. Now let's say I'll select this east and furniture. East and furniture should be this value. See, let me go and select office supplies. See, I'm getting this value. Say technology, I'll get this value. So instead of using all this VLOOKUP or index or match or something, I can create one pivot table and create the reference like this, and I can also use it as a formula. So get pivot data. So what it will do is, this is a function which will get the data from a pivot table. So you can make it dynamic by selecting something like this as well. Otherwise, if you go here, say equals and select anywhere, see, it will give me the hard-coded value like this. Region, I've selected south, and here category and furniture, something like this. So whichever pivot table, you just go here, equals and refer that. I will get this get pivot data. But if you want to avoid this, I want to just get this cell reference. So what I'll do is, I'll go here, select this pivot table, go to analyze, go to this options. Here I have this generate get pivot data. Uncheck this. See, now it is not checked. Now let me go here and say equals and select this. I will not get that pivot data. So if you think that I want to just refer only this cell here, then disable this. Analyze, and here I'll say generate pivot data. If you want to enable that, just click on this. Let's go and check this now. See, I'll get this get pivot. So whenever you are working on something, if you are trying to refer and if you are getting this formula automatically and I don't want this, uncheck that. That's it. Simple. Just uncheck this. Otherwise, if you want get pivot, then enable this. There are so many other options. You can go here. You can check the options here. Say if you want to have multiple filters, say multiple filters means here what will happen is I have this value field and the text field here. That is the label field. If you want to filter both, see here I have this label filters. If you want to filter anything, I can use this filters and value filters. I can filter it here. If this option is not enabled, say filters, say allow multiple filters per field. So what will happen here? I can filter any one of them, so either label filters or value filters. But if I enable this, say filters, say allow multiple filters, so you can filter both this one as well as this field. So likewise, if you go here, there are so many options here. You can use that. So all this actually comes under this design only here, whatever layout. So which you have seen in our previous pivot table options. Just change this report layout or show these grand totals or see subtotals or something like that. Apart from this, you can also use this conditional formatting here. So same thing like what we do for this um, formatting what we apply, the same thing I can apply here as well depending on the values. See, we'll go here. So same thing like what we do for range. So here also I can mention that value here and I can work on this. So likewise, you can utilize this pivot table for say report creations as well. Otherwise, quickly if you want to create some things, you can use this pivot table. Along with this, all these options whatever I showed, this is something like which will help us in preparing the pivot table reports.